paved for you is no easy feat. And that is what becoming a mom, long before you've ever experienced the normal rites of passage in life, feels like. I had my first child at the age of 14. As you can imagine, there is an incredible amount of pressure that comes with being responsible for another human life at such a young age. When you hear this about me, do you feel sorry for me? What if I told you that becoming a teen mom was the best thing that ever happened to me? Now, I will also tell you that being the mother of a teenager is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Let me be clear, I am not an advocate of teen pregnancy. However, I've come to understand that we must all grapple with some kind of struggle in life. And the hand that I was dealt had teen pregnancy written on the cards. Certainly not something that I would have chosen for myself. And I'm pretty sure when my parents gave birth to me, their hopes and dreams for me did not include me becoming a mom while I was still a baby myself. Every diamond that sparkles and every ring and crown started life below the depths of the earth. More than 240 kilometers down, at temperatures of 1600 degrees or greater, carbon squeezes into coal or graphite, which can take up to 3 billion years to create the hardest and most valuable of gems. The pressure required to create diamonds is equivalent to 4,000 grown men standing on your foot. It was that kind of pressure that I experienced as a teen mom, and it completely altered the course of my life. You know, there's something very humbling about having stood in a soup kitchen line, or in the welfare line, or in the line at the gas and electric company, begging them to keep your lights on because your seasonal job at the local amusement park is just enough to buy diapers and pay for your bus fare. Or how about standing in the freezing cold waiting for the bus with 8 bags of groceries that you purchased with your food stamps? You've got a crying baby in one arm, a stroller in the other, a baby bag on one shoulder and a book bag on the other, praying that when you get home there's enough time left at the end of the day to do some homework. That kind of struggle can change a person, often not in the best ways, but for me it provided a sense of fight. Because mostly I wasn't fighting for myself. You see, I had this beautiful brown-eyed creature that would look to me for his source of strength each and every day. And on the days I couldn't wrestle up even a mustard seed of strength to fight for myself, I was somehow able to access strength the size of a sea coconut seed to fight for him. The beautiful thing about my story is, if you were to ask my son what it was like being raised by a 14-year-old girl, he would probably say he doesn't know. He shared with me in a touching letter that he didn't remember the struggle. He didn't know that those high-water pants that he was wearing weren't really the style. And he never felt any hunger pains. All things that would have certainly exposed our situation. He also shared that it was amazing to know that his mom had been able to accomplish so much while being on this life-altering journey. And that I somehow epitomized for him the definition of a true hard worker. He shared that my example showed him that it didn't matter what your circumstances were, that you could change your perspective and ultimately change your outcome. If I took the time to explain to you all of the wonderful things that he shared with me, I'd be standing in a puddle by the end of this talk. He did say, though, that he was my biggest fan and that he was proud of me. A girl couldn't have a better fan club. I thought to myself, what could I say to my son in response that would summarize our journey together? And if I were to write back, I would be sure to say, son, having to ask for help is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it shows great strength, humility, and wisdom. It builds muscle and character necessary for the journey ahead. And I would also tell him that my 14-year-old self could not have begun to formulate the words to tell him about all the hopes and dreams that I had for him. How his life was somehow going to be different. it would be better. At the time, I didn't know what better could look like, but I knew that I would find it for him. And in a moment of real transparency, I would tell him if I had to go back and do it all over again, I would choose a different dad for him. I married a wonderful man who's been in his life since he was 2 years old, but there is absolutely nothing that can take away the hole left in the heart of a child by the absence of a parent. I would apologize profusely. I would encourage my son to take that pain that he's sure to be experiencing from that loss and use it to find himself, to do better, and to be better. I would also tell him that he can thank me for his dashing good looks. Those must have come from me. But mostly I would just thank him. Thank him for being my motivation, my inspiration, the pressure that I needed to become the woman I am today. It's funny, my son and I were experiencing the world in totally different ways, yet existing at the same time in history. This pressure that I'm speaking of certainly taught me to trust my instincts. It built grit and character, muscle necessary for the journey ahead. But it is the very same kind of pressure that I've spent my entire life shielding my son from. Fortunately, there is no incubator big enough to hold a 23-year-old man. So the pressures of life, they will surely come for him. And my hope is that he will see them as an opportunity and as a privilege, and he would grow from them. Pressure is this thing that we try to avoid at all costs, yet it can build strength and grit and resiliency and all the things that help us to discover who we truly are in the face of adversity. And though it can be painful, it can help us to become our best selves and fulfill our unique purpose on this earth. Pressure is a privilege.